Once again, a hidden challenger panel. Again, it's a national story. 2 minutes. Gordon, would you start for us, please?
The national story. Did it happen in a Canadian capital city, provincial or national?
Oh, it happened in a number of cities.
A number of places at once. Does that mean it was a law that affected the people all across the country?
No.
Does it involve movement at all?
No.
Did it involve the weather?
No.
Did the people who were involved in this thing wear uniforms?
No.
Did they wear anything?
Yes.
Well, that's something. It happened all over the place, like the rain falling on everybody and so on. Oh, that means that you better try it.
Right. Well, it happened in a number of places, but its effect would perhaps affect the whole country.
All right. Did the story happen this year?
Yes.
Is it a political story?
No.
Does it have anything to do with science?
No.
But
Is
don't
business
dismiss,
involved?
excuse me, don't dismiss government out of hand. It's not political in the narrow sense, but there is a governmental involvement.
That affected everybody.
All right, then. Is it a governmental story? Then something that government did is getting a response from people.
No.
Does it have anything to do with...
Fred looks a little doubtful on that answer.
with layoffs or economic distress in any way?
Only very indirectly.
Yes.
It's not related to the CLC march or anything of that sort?
No.
Is it a happy story?
For most people, yes.
But controversial, I would have to add.
A controversial story.
In that everyone didn't agree with this, yes.
Well, like the Constitution, that kind of thing. I take it it's not that.
It's not the Constitution, no.
Nor anything like it.
No.
Is the entertainment field involved?
No.
No form of sport or television?
And not at any one place.
Well, reports of entertainment and sport and many other things. The Kent Commission slams newspaper monopolies.
Sure,
Our guest is Chairman Tom Kent of that commission. We'll have a chance to discuss this story in detail with Mr. Kent in a moment after we take this time out.
Trust the leader in technology to forge a new legend, Seiko LaSalle. Trust Seiko to fuse slim elegance and peerless performance, new Seiko LaSalle. Trust Seiko to create timepieces destined for a place among the world's great possessions. Seiko LaSalle. Miracles of slimness, marvels of technology. No wonder people trust Seiko more than any other watch.
Almost $3 for a burger, fries, and a shake. What if I brought Harold and the 2 kids?
For about $3, all 4 of you could have had Chef Boyardee beef ravioli, a salad, and a drink.
All 4 of us?
You get tasty pasta pies filled with lean, juicy beef in a rich tomato sauce.
What a delicious meal.
What a great price.
Chef Boyardee beef ravioli. Give your whole family a good hot meal with meat at a price you can afford.
Thanks, Chef Boyardee.
Headaches. No one suffers more than I do.
Really? There's a pain reliever under one of these boxes you should know about.
Sure there is.
Mrs. Wood, more than 900 milligrams of pain reliever.
900?
In only 2 tablets.
Anacin. I didn't know Anacin was all that...
Effective? Over 900 milligrams in just 2 tablets.
Well, I guess I should pick up some Anacin pretty darn soon. I think I will.
Anacin, adult strength.
Arthur's got the urge for a French mint bar. In fact, he's quite beside himself for that smooth, rich, chocolatey taste. For times like this, he always keeps an emergency supply well hidden. Too well hidden. Oh, better round up the usual suspects. Ah, look, up there. Now he can practically taste that delicious, cool French mint flavor. French mint from Laura Secord, and 3 other great ways to satisfy the urge.
Describing the concentration of newspaper ownership as monstrous, the Kent Commission delivered a tough message to the federal government. Require Thomson newspapers to sell either the Globe and Mail or its other 39 newspapers. Stop expansion of the Southam chain and the Thomsons. Break up regional monopolies like the Irving chain in New Brunswick. Prohibit ownership of radio or television stations by newspapers in the same area. Make newspaper editors more independent of owners. Not surprisingly, Canada's publishers were not amused. Our guest is the chairman of the Kent Commission, Tom Kent.
Mr. Kent, we've been talking about this show coming up several times, and we muffed it totally. Did you set out deliberately to mislead us on those answers you gave? Because you didn't give us anything to get a hold of.
Well, I'm sorry. I did my best to say yes or no, as I was told to do. I must say I expected you to guess. I expected Paul in particular to recognize my voice.
Yes, I should have recognized your voice. I'm sorry.
Well, not the voice. We should have recognized that subject, and I feel rather irritated that we missed it. Anyhow, the point is that...
Don't feel badly.
Well, we should have got that one. We had talked it over, what's likely to come up, because we do that. And here, we're almost sure to have Kent, and we got Kent, and we got egg all over our faces.
Oh, no.
See, at Christmas, what kind of a deal is this? Well, anyhow, your report got hell in the papers.
From the publishers.
Yes,
yeah.
I imagine that you expected that, but did you expect it as violently as it did come?
No, I thought, frankly, the publishers would be a little more subtle about it. The essence of the report, of course, is it says that they make too much profit doing too little, and obviously they're not going to like it. But I would have thought their response would be a little more subtle than it has been, I must say.
I had that feeling myself, but the one thing they jumped on here was the apparent desire that the Globe and Mail be sold. Now, how do you justify that one?
Well, the Globe and Mail, of course, is owned by Thomson now. They've only owned it for a relatively short time, who also own a third of all the other papers in the country, and of course have massive other interests. Now, in general, we didn't recommend that chains like that be unscrambled, because they've been there for some time and so on. But the Globe and Mail has been owned by Thomson only for a very short time, and to the point that the publisher of the Globe and Mail told us at our hearings that, he really had nothing to do with the Thomson organization. He didn't even know to whom in the Thomson organization he reported. In other words, there's no vital link there which should be kept. And if there's no necessity to keep it, then certainly it seems to us that it's undesirable that the same ownership should have the one paper which is to some degree a national paper, when in a third of Canadian cities, the same company, the same conglomerate, is owning the local papers as well.
I'm sorry, but the argument seems to, the argument you've given doesn't seem to support the conclusion. You said there's no connection at all, so they should sell it? I would have thought if there was a connection between the editorial policies that would make more sense.
There's no connection in the sense that there is not an intimate organizational connection as there is between papers which have been together for a long time. They have no common services.
Do you think that you're going to be able to make any of these recommendations stick? Because there were quite a lot of sweeping recommendations. Do you think
I
that
wouldn't agree that there are any
happen?
sweeping recommendations, but there are a lot of recommendations for change. I think it's quite certain that in the nature of a thing like this, what is recommended will not be implemented exactly as recommended, but that a great deal of it will be. Yes, certainly I think so.
Have you seen any indication of that? Because in following the stories, there has been nothing so far that would suggest that this Royal Commission is going to meet any fate any different from many of the other Royal Commissions we've seen.
Well, suggests that perhaps the press is not being entirely accurate.
Well, Tom, you were at the Liberal Convention a week ago, and I noticed hobnobbing with some of the great and near great who were there. Did you get any indication that they would act on your recommendations, and if so, which ones do you think they're most likely to act on?
On that occasion, I was not a subject for discussion.
Well, then let me remove the qualification. Just generally, which ones do you think they're most likely to act on?
Well, I think to speculate at this point, the decision will be made fairly soon. And for me to speculate at this point, I think would be a little foolish.
Which ones are you most concerned about then? Which ones would you press hardest for if you were lobbying in Ottawa amongst your old friends there?
Well, what I would be concerned about would be the fundamental objective of the report, which is to ensure that a little more openness to the public is introduced into newspapers. The essence of the newspaper problem, as you know very well, is that newspapers are really ceasing to be businesses in themselves they're becoming, and it's inevitable that they will
Well, I
all
thought
become
you were complaining that they were, in
conglomerates.
fact, just businesses in themselves.
No, businesses into themselves in the sense that they're only newspaper businesses. What has happened to a large scale, and is bound to happen on a greater scale, is that they become mere profit centres within conglomerate businesses with many other interests. And what is important is to find some way to offset the effect of that. The primary effect of it, of course, is that if they're not newspaper companies primarily, they don't devote very much resources to the newspapers as such. We don't recommend any government interference. We recommend that there be steps which ensure that the public, not the government, but the public, has more information about newspapers, can exercise more influence.
You must be as disillusioned as I am with the press snow job on this report, which I might as well say publicly because nobody else seems to sing. I think it's a damn good report, and I hope it's implemented. It's about time. I wonder if... And there's... You see, I don't know what you're finding across the country, but I'm finding that the general public and the reporters in the papers think it's a good report. It's the guys at the top whose money is involved who are trying to pretend that the government is involved. I'd like to have your comment on that.
Well, absolutely right, of course. The general opinion among journalists is very favourable, no question, working journalists. But equally, undoubtedly, publishers are opposed to it. One would not object to their being opposed to it. Of course, they're entitled to be opposed to it. But they're opposing it by giving entirely false reasons. They're claiming that it's an attack on the freedom of the press. It is not. It is an attempt to ensure that instead of being run as part of conglomerate businesses, newspapers are run as newspapers with a newspaper conscience, a newspaper sense of responsibility.
Are you doing any lobbying yourself to make sure that the other side is being told? Because it's not being told in the press of this country.
No, in spite of what Paul implied, I don't think it's my job at this point to do a lot of lobbying. Certainly, if decisions are not made soon to act on the report, then I think the time will come when whatever influence I can have, and I hope others can have, will be brought to bear.
But Pierre,
we're not
you
at that
wouldn't want the
stage.
Globe and Mail pushed out, would you?
I wouldn't care if it was separate or not. It's making lots of money.
Nobody's
it's a
pushing
very
it
profitable
out.
organization. I'd just as soon Thomson didn't own the Globe and Mail, that it was separate from the Globe and Mail. It's competing with other Thomson newspapers in cities across this country.
But it's a national newspaper.
Well, let it stay a national
remain a
newspaper.
national
That's not
newspaper.
going to be hurt by going.
The issue is only
Thomson,
who owns it.
and maybe helped by it.
Yeah.
There are lots of
Maybe
people
we
who'd
ought
love to buy it.
Well, sure. You and I.
Between Gordon and
Sure, excellent idea.
And a very positive note to end on. If you gentlemen want to buy it, I'm sure your offers will be considered. But let me thank Mr. Kent. And as Pierre has pointed out, I think the press have given us one side of it. It's been very useful that you could be here tonight and give your side of it. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
A.E. Mullen of Robinson Street in Hamilton, Ontario, suggested our second story, and that's our time for tonight. Paul Hellyer, you're always a welcome guest. Please come back and see us again.
Thank you very much, Fred. Delighted to be here.
And we invite you to do the same thing next week at the same time. Bye for now.